AMD really screwed up. It's bad. Also, Twitter just has stopped paying rent like we thought they would. And you want to know about the 4070 Ti? We're going to talk about the 4070 Ti. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast. And today, it's the last episode that you're going to have to endure where I'm the one who's been editing it because our editor, Catlin, comes back from vacation tomorrow. So you'll get a fresh dose of hot news from her. But what you would get from AMD is a little bit of a prolapse cooler is what we're finding out, because Der Bauer has gone through all of the research to find out what exactly is wrong with the 7900 XTX GPU, and it is not pretty. So I highly recommend you click the top link for the source in the video description so that you can go watch this full video. But the quick breakdown is we know that AMD's GPUs are having problems. There's been a lot of theories and a lot of recommendations on how to fix it, but for the most part, people are finding that if you just switch the GPU from horizontal to vertical, that's going to fix your 110 degrees Celsius hotspot issues. And there was a lot of speculation as to why this is happening. Is it due to mounting pressure? There was also this like weird conspiracy theory that popped up in the AMD subreddit where it was like, it's the DisplayPort cables. The DisplayPort cables need to be replaced because they're the ones that are heating the GPU, and it's not actually the graphics card that's problem. Turns out none of that's real. So if you watch through Bauer's video, what he goes through is the painstaking testing to find out that it is not anything that can actually be mitigated in terms of mounting pressure or adding extra cooling. He had scientific ways of dealing with everything that could potentially be the problem, and what it essentially comes down to is the fact that the vapor chamber on the GPU is inherently flawed. He even showed that when you take it from a vertical mount to a horizontal mount, it gets a little bit of a wamble. It can't actually keep up, and the hotspot temperatures increase even more, creating this issue where that's happening. And after all of the digging that he did into it, it turns out that yes, AMD has a severe problem with the 7900 XTX coolers. They are going to likely have to recall these because they cannot be fixed by anybody just adding extra washers or making it so that it performs a little bit better. Yes, you can rotate the GPU, but for AMD to expect people to have to do that for a $1,000 graphics card is purely inexcusable. With the NVIDIA stuff, where it was like the connectors melting, if the failure point is you just have to plug it in a little bit harder, then I'm less in favor of a recall. It's still bad design, still should be fixed on the next iteration. Hopefully we get that with the 4070 Ti. But if you're expecting people to have to physically rotate an entire PC because you designed a $1,000 graphics card to not perform properly, that's a problem, obviously. Good job, Brett. Great with words. But one of the explanations that's being pitched for why it's actually the vapor chamber and what's happening is that when you heat the vapor chamber up, there's evaporation and then it condenses at a different portion. But when it's horizontally mounted, it's actually not allowing for the condensation to actually make its way back over to where the GPU is. And so it's actually just staying at that vaporized level, and it has a critical hardware flaw. So this seems to be a problem at the hardware level, not something that can just be easily fixed with a few tweaks here and there. There's something fundamentally wrong about the vapor chamber that's on the inside of the GPU. But in case you want to know what AMD has to think about this, okay? In case you want to know what teradiddle they're going to be pitching to you about this whole situation, well, get ready to cramp on this one. They said, hey, we're aware that a limited number, very important here, limited number of users are experiencing unexpected thermal throttling on AMD Radeon RX 7900 XTX graphics cards, reference models made by AMD. Thank you for clarifying. Users experiencing unexpected thermal throttling of an AMD Radeon RX 7900 XTX should contact AMD support, which is just such an impenitent statement because number one, they have to throw the word limited in there. Number two, they're throwing out contact support when it came out last week. We talked about this in Hot News, that AMD support has been difficult to deal with because it's actually run by a third-party company known as Digital River, who actually doesn't have any horse in this race to fix things. So it's actually a real problem overall, where AMD is, this came out before Der Bauer's video, but essentially is like, it's limited! And just tell us about it, okay? When everybody who's like, we're telling you about it, you won't accept our returns. You're actually not saying that this is actually a problem initially whenever we did contact customer support, and you're putting the burden on us as customers to actually go through all of this. So, not a great look. in my eyes, towards what's going on with AMD. DeBauer even says in his video that a lot of this is going to be a huge problem for AMD. They have a very, very dire situation on their hands with their flagship cards, and he even calls them out for mocking NVIDIA for their melting power connectors because, hey, don't throw stones when your GPUs can cramp up too. That's the lesson here, friends. Hope you learned it yourself. Let me know what you think about the whole XTX situation. Does this put you off from AMD in general? Nobody was buying the XT version. Everybody wants the XTX, but we haven't really seen as many reports of the XT. Does this put you off from buying like a 7700 XT when that comes out? Let me know down below in those comments while I'll let you know about Cryptostonks, okay? Because it's New Year's or whatever. Oh, I probably should have like started the episode saying Happy New Year and asking you if you have any resolutions. If you do, type them down below. Let's support each other. All of that good stuff. Bitcoin, though, is getting a little bit of support. It's up 2.2% on the day to be at 16,594. Ethereum is up a similar amount to be at 1201. Dogecoin's up roughly a similar amount to be at 7 cents. Tesla closing Friday up a little bit, up 1.1% to close at 123.18. So that's 2 days in a row where they're closing up, but Tesla not escaping any sort of controversy. It's coming out that the NLRB is saying that Tesla is violating the laws by telling employees, hey, you're not allowed to talk about salary, or if management is bad, you're not allowed to complain about them. So the National Labor Relations Board is accusing Tesla of violating labor laws, especially with regards to their Orlando campus, where it came out that they were actually having these issues of telling employees that they're not allowed to discuss salary, which at least in the United States, you can't do that. Employees are allowed to discuss how much they make. Twitter's also not discussing things. Elon Musk is running his companies fantastically. They're not discussing how they haven't paid rent. Come on, Brett. California Property Trust, who owns Twitter's building, is saying that the Twitter hasn't paid $136,000 in rent and that they would like to do something about it, either eviction or getting them to pay, because as you know, the saying holds true. If you don't pay $100,000, that'll help you pay $1 billion in debt that you have to service every single year because you took out a massive loan in order to fund a takeover by a crazy billionaire. And that's the surefire way to make sure you lose $200 billion in net worth. My grandma always said that to me. And I always say, that was a long Cryptostonks. Let's turn to Reece for UFD Deals. What you got for the hottest tech deals today, bud?
Hey, welcome back to UFD Deals. We bring you the hottest tech deals out on the internet. I hope you guys are having a fantastic start to your 2023. Don't worry, I enjoyed the heck out of my holiday, but it almost feels weird being back in my room to record. But likewise, we also have a fantastic start to this year's deals with the Sticklemonster XG750. This fully modular 750 watt 80 plus platinum power supply with addressable RGB is going for only $113.43, which is 55% off. And next up, we have the Samsung S80, which is a 27-inch 4K IPS panel with HDR10 support, USB-C power delivery, and built-in speakers, going for only $291, which is 27% off. And last but not least is the perfect thing to pair with that with the 2021 11-inch M1 iPad Pro. The best thing about New Year's is that the older stuff gets discounted super heavily, because this is going for only $1,299.97, which is the cheapest price I've ever seen for the 2TB variant. I literally have one right here. I use it every single day. It's actually an indispensable part of my workflow to get the hot news thumbnails done. If you check the entirety of last week's thumbnails, they were all done exclusively on the iPad because it's the only device I brought with me out on vacation. But that's it for the deals. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend and a great start to your new year. And like always, you'll find the links to these deals and more in the video description. But for now, I'm gonna hand you off back to Brad for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Maybe one day, Reece and I will be able to split screen doing hot news. That way you could see us both at the same time. And that's actually what YouTube TV wants to bring to you with their service. The technology for split screening is going to happen. This is in the wake of them having the deal with NFL Sunday Ticket. Turns out that they're going to have this split screen experience for sports events on YouTube TV, specifically saying it's going to be called the Mosaic mode, and it's going to allow for 4 simultaneous views going on at the same time. So if you want to watch different football games, or if you want to watch soccer and hockey and football and baseball, you could have the quintessence of life, which quint is 5, but it doesn't matter, okay? The numbers don't have to matter here, just like they don't with the 3070 Ti. Yeah, 3070 Ti. We'll talk about the 4070 Ti in a second, but a 3070 Ti with 16 gigabytes of RAM has been pictured, which is more than the 8 gigabytes that you can get if you bought a 3070 Ti. Somebody found it. It exists. It came out in EEC filings that we were supposed to maybe get this, but NVIDIA decided you don't need that much VRAM, so suck it. But let's talk about the 4070 Ti, and NVIDIA's doing that already, even though they're only supposed to announce this on January 3rd during their CES announcement. They're, at least in France, tweeting out about it, and now you know that the 4070 Ti is exactly the RTX 4080 12 gig, and in case there was any doubt in your mind before, now we officially know. But additionally, we're getting some leaked benchmarks out about the 4070 Ti, and it looks like it's faster. 4070 Ti at least putting up performance numbers that are equivalent to, right on par with the 3090 Ti, which we are expecting the 4070 Ti to come in at that $900 price point. So this is technically cheaper, because the 3090 Ti launched at $2,000, then experienced a price cut down to about $1,100, $1,200. And so this is getting further price cut to like $900. So just enjoy your benevolent NVIDIA overlords. Look at these numbers. 4070 Ti keeping pace with the 3090 Ti, beating out the 3090. It's a better card, okay? The 3090 launched for, how much was it? A lot of money, $1,400 I can't remember. It doesn't matter, okay? NVIDIA's being gracious by giving you more performance at a cheaper price point, or the same amount of performance at a cheaper price point. You just have to swallow the green NVIDIA juice, and then you'll be good to go and see all of the ray tracing with your 4070 Ti that you're going to drop $900 on, because there's no looming pending economic issues going on. We aren't seeing the least amount of discrete graphics cards sold in the last 20 years. There's nothing to indicate that any of this is a problem. Everything's fine. AMD can ship coolers for $1,000 that don't work. NVIDIA can ship GPUs at $1,600 that melt. And they can also give you $900 70 Ti cards. And you just have to enjoy it, because there's no other choice. I'll see you back here for Hot News on Tuesday. It'll be edited better. Cheers.